All right, buckle up, everybody, because today we're diving headfirst into the world of cryptocurrency. And you know what? That means trying to answer the big question. Will 2025 be the year of the crypto bull, or will the market come crashing down? To help us wade through all of this, we're going to be taking a close look at this video someone sent in. It's called, get this, Crypto Market Crash or Bull Run, What You Need to Know in 2025.
So obviously whoever sent this in, you're thinking about stuff, you're
Yep.
thinking about investing, or you just, trying to figure out what all the hype is about. Well, either way, you're in the right place. Think of us as your guides to the wild world of crypto.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a fascinating time for crypto, isn't it? I mean, the market is just so volatile right now. It really feels like we're at a turning point. Some experts are saying we're headed for a massive rally, a bull run that's going to lift all boats. But then others are saying, hold on, there are storm clouds on the horizon. They're predicting a major correction, something that could, really shake up the market. It's that uncertainty that makes it so exciting, don't you think?
Totally. But let's not just ride the wave of speculation here.
Great.
I want to understand what's actually driving all this.
Mhm.
And the video, it starts by talking about this huge surge in institutional investment.
Great.
We're not just talking about, small-time players anymore. We're talking about
Yeah.
like the big names, BlackRock, Fidelity, these companies that really, really carry some weight.
Mhm.
And they're starting to, put their money where their mouth is. They're dipping their toes into crypto waters. And to me, that's a huge signal. It's like mainstream acceptance is starting to, finally arrive.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And it goes beyond just buying Bitcoin. Some of these institutions, they're actually building their own platforms.
Yeah.
For trading, for custody. I mean,
Yeah.
that signals a long-term commitment. And that could be a real game changer. I mean, think about it. More investors potentially driving those prices way up.
Mhm.
But you have to remember the other side of the coin too. Regulators, they're watching this very closely. And how they react, well, that could really make or break the market.
Oh, yeah, you're right. The regulatory landscape, it's a roller coaster for sure. The video even mentions the possibility of Bitcoin ETFs getting approved, which, I mean, that could further boost demand, right? But then it also talks about the threat of tighter regulations, regulations that could actually like stifle growth. It really is like a tug of war, isn't it? And then on top of all that, you have to factor in like the whole macroeconomic picture.
Oh, for sure. Crypto, I mean, it's not operating in a vacuum. It's connected to the global economy, the whole financial ecosystem. You think about things like inflation, interest rates, even geopolitical events. These things, they all have an impact. Remember what happened with the energy crisis a while back and how that impacted Bitcoin mining. It's a pretty stark reminder that, what happens in the real world affects crypto too.
Okay, so let me get this straight. We've got institutional money pouring in. We've got regulatory uncertainty, and the global economy, well, that's a wild card. That's a lot to process. But okay, let's say hypothetically that they actually do line up. Let's say we're actually headed for a bull run, one of these glorious crypto rallies everyone's talking about. What makes people think that's even possible in 2025?
Well, one of the big things people are pointing to is this historical pattern with Bitcoin. It's called the halving event, and it happens roughly every 4 years. Basically, the reward for mining Bitcoin, it gets cut in half. So less supply, theoretically, that should lead to higher demand. And historically, it actually has been followed by some pretty significant price surges. And guess what? The next halving, it's predicted for, well, you guessed it, 2024, 2025.
Wait. So you're telling me just cutting the reward for mining Bitcoin in half could send the entire market skyrocketing? I mean, help me understand the logic here.
Okay, imagine it this way. Imagine there's this rare gemstone, okay? And suddenly it becomes even scarcer, like way more rare. What do you think happens? Well, collectors, they're going to be scrambling, right? They want to get their hands on it no matter what, and that drives the price up, way up. It's kind of the same concept with Bitcoin. The halving, it creates this artificial scarcity. And then you combine that with the growing demand, well, boom, that could potentially trigger a massive bull run. I mean, in fact, in previous bull runs, Bitcoin has surged over 500% within a year of these halving events.
100%?
Hmm.
Okay, now you've got my attention. But, isn't that just relying on past performance? Which, as they say, is not always a guarantee of future results,
Oh,
right?
yeah. You're right to be cautious. Historical patterns, they can offer insights, but they're not, they're not a crystal ball or anything, but there are other factors at play here that could fuel a bull run. For one thing, we're seeing growing adoption. More and more businesses, even institutions, they're accepting crypto as payment. It's becoming more useful, and that strengthens its value, and attracts new investors.
And don't forget about good old-fashioned hype. I mean, the video mentions rising trading volume, and increased buzz on social media. That could also be an indicator of a bull run, right? It's like this self-fulfilling prophecy. People get excited, they invest more, which pushes the prices higher.
Yeah, for sure. Social sentiment, I mean, it plays a huge role in the crypto market, but you always have to remember, hype, it's a double-edged sword. It can drive prices up, but it can also lead to, irrational exuberance. And that can create these bubbles that eventually burst, which brings us to the less glamorous but equally important possibility, a market crash.
So we've talked about the potential for a bull run. You're driven by things like the Bitcoin halving event and, all this institutional interest. But let's be real. The crypto market, it's not exactly known for, smooth sailing. And the video, it actually spends a lot of time talking about the possibility of a market crash, which, let's be honest, it's kind of scary for investors.
Yeah, it's a scenario you definitely have to consider. A crash, it would mean like a steep, sudden decline in prices across the board, wiping out, huge amounts of value, and potentially even triggering like a prolonged bear market. And it's not just theoretical, I mean, we've seen this happen before.
Right. Like back in 2018, the crypto winter, right?
Yeah.
When Bitcoin lost, what was it, like 80% of its value? In the video, it mentioned a few factors that could, contribute to another downturn like that. And one that really stuck out to me was the whole regulatory uncertainty thing we were talking about earlier.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, governments around the world, they're still trying to figure out how to deal with crypto. And, their decisions, they could have huge consequences. Imagine a major economy, like really clamps down, imposes strict regulations, makes it difficult to trade or even hold crypto. I mean, that could trigger a panic, a mass sell-off, and that could send the market into a tailspin.
Yeah, it's like one of those Jenga towers, right?
Yeah.
Like one wrong move, the whole thing comes crashing down. And speaking of risky moves, the video also talks about the dangers of over-leveraged trading. Can you break that down for me? It sounds kind of like, playing with fire.
Yeah, it can be, especially in a market like crypto, where things are so volatile. Basically, leverage trading, it means you're borrowing money to amplify your gains, right? But here's the catch. It also amplifies your losses. So let's say you borrow, 10 times your initial investment. A small dip in the market, well, that could wipe you out completely. You could end up in debt.
Ouch. Yeah, that doesn't sound good. And what if enough people get caught in that kind of situation? It could create like a domino effect, right? One forced liquidation leading to another, and then boom, the whole market crashes.
Exactly. And that's what regulators are worried about. They're trying to, find ways to mitigate these risks, but without, stifling innovation. It's a tricky balance.
It is. And then, of course, we can't forget about the big picture, the global economy. I mean, if things take a turn for the worse, like a recession or, some major geopolitical crisis, people tend to, flee from risky assets. And crypto, well, it could easily get caught in the crossfire.
Right. Investors, they're going to be looking for safe havens. So they might, pull their money out of crypto and put it into, things like government bonds or gold or whatever. And that decrease in demand, well, that could really accelerate a downturn.
So it seems like, we're walking this tightrope. On one side, you've got the potential for this amazing bull run, right? Driven by, innovation, adoption, and maybe a little bit of hype. And then on the other side, there's this looming threat of a crash triggered by, regulations or over-leveraged trading, or maybe even a global economic meltdown. So how do we even begin to navigate this uncertainty? I mean, luckily the video does offer some practical advice, right?
It does, yeah. It basically says, whether we're headed for a bull market or a bear market, there are strategies you can use to weather the storm and maybe even come out ahead. And one of the most important ones, diversification.
Ah, yes. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Classic advice, but still relevant, right?
Absolutely. The video, it recommends spreading your investments, across different cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and maybe some promising altcoins. So that way, even if one of them takes a hit, your whole portfolio isn't wiped out.
Right, right. It's all about managing risk.
Yeah, exactly. Diversification, it's a fundamental principle of investing, and it's especially important in crypto, where volatility is kind of the norm.
It is. And the video also talks about this thing called dollar cost averaging, or DCA for short. Sounds kind of fancy, but the concept itself is pretty simple, right?
Yeah, it is. It basically means instead of, trying to time the market perfectly, which, let's be honest, is almost impossible, you invest a fixed amount of money at regular intervals, regardless of the price. So if the price is high, you buy a little bit. If the price is low, you buy a little bit more.
It's like this built-in safety net, right? You're
Yeah.
averaging out your purchase price over time.
Yeah.
And that helps to reduce the impact of, those big swings in the market.
Yeah, exactly.
I like that. But, what about the people who, they get tempted to go all in when the market is hot?
Yeah.
They want to ride the wave to riches.
Yeah.
The video, it has a message for them too, right?
It does, yeah. It basically says, no matter what, you always want to keep some cash reserves.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense.
For one thing, it prevents you from having to sell your crypto at a loss if you need cash, during a downturn. And second, it gives you the flexibility to buy more when prices are low. So you can actually, turn a market crash into an opportunity.
Okay, so it's all about being prepared,
Mhm.
right? No matter what happens, whether the market goes up, down, or sideways.
Yeah, I mean, the key takeaway is you got to stay informed, you got to make smart decisions, and you can't let, hype or fear dictate your actions.
Right.
Right.
Knowledge is power, especially in the crypto world.
It is.
And the video, it encourages viewers to really think about this stuff. It asks, bull run or crash, what do you think?
Mm.
And I think that's a great exercise, It forces you to analyze the information, to consider different perspectives, and then to form your own conclusions.
It's true, though, right? Like, it's so easy to get caught up in the moment,
Mm-hmm.
especially when, you see those prices going crazy.
It is. It's definitely a mental game.
It is. And the video, it actually gives this really cool example about, how taking a strategic approach can really pay off. Remember those investors, the ones who bought Bitcoin back in 2018,
Mm-hmm.
during the crash when everyone else was freaking out?
Oh, yeah. The ones who went against the herd mentality.
Yeah.
They saw an opportunity, right, in the middle of all that chaos. And then when the market rebounded, well, they reaped the rewards.
Right.
It's a great example of, how patience and a good strategy can really lead to success in this crazy world of crypto.
Patience. It's so important, but it's so hard sometimes, Like, how do you stay patient when you see those prices jumping all over the place?
Well, I think that's where having a solid investment plan comes in. Before you even think about buying any crypto, you got to take some time to really define your goals, your risk tolerance, your time horizon. Are you in it for the long haul? Or are you looking for, quick gains? How much risk are you comfortable with? You got to answer these questions.
Right. It's like having a roadmap. You got to know where you're going and how you're going to get there.
Right.
But at the same time, you got to be flexible,
Yeah.
right? Because the crypto landscape is constantly changing.
Exactly. Your plan, it should be a guide, not, a set of rules written in stone.
Right.
And remember, there's no shame in asking for help if you're feeling lost or confused or overwhelmed. Talk to a financial advisor. Get some professional guidance.
Always good advice.
Yep.
So we've covered a lot today. Institutional investment, regulatory uncertainty, the potential for a bull run, the risk of a crash.
Yeah.
But as we wrap up this deep dive, I'm still left with this question. What's next for crypto? And the video, it doesn't pretend to have all the answers, but it ends with this really interesting challenge to the viewers.
Yeah, it asks, how will you navigate this exciting, unpredictable landscape?
I love that.
It's like an invitation to go beyond just, reading about crypto or watching videos about it. It's a call to action, to actually get involved, to become a participant.
To become an informed participant, not just a spectator.
Exactly.
So to our listener, we leave you with this final thought. What role do you want to play in all of this? Do you want to sit on the sidelines and watch? Or do you want to step into the arena, armed with knowledge and maybe a little bit of that adventurous spirit?
The choice is yours. But no matter what you decide, the most important thing is to approach it with an open mind, a healthy dose of skepticism and a real thirst for knowledge.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
The future of crypto, it's still being written.
It is.
And we're all, in a way, writing it together.